Okay.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody to this real launch for the Astrological Lib International Astrology Library online. Um, and thank you so much for being here with us to do this. I'm going to say very little. I just want to say that in a moment I'll be introducing Philip, the librarian. Um, while he is showing you around the library, um, I would please, if you have any questions, put them in the chat box. And Amanda and Mary, would you like to say hello, Amanda and Mary? Because then your face will pop up and everybody will see you.
Hello.
Hello.
Amanda, where's she gone to?
Oh, I said hello. Yeah.
Yeah, so they'll be looking after your questions and giving you a chance to interact with it. And then also telling you the really exciting news about how you can learn how to use Chris Mitchell has recorded one of his excellent videos teaching you how to use it. So while you're watching, Philip, don't worry if you don't think you're going to remember all this because Chris has recorded a video for you to watch. Okay, so let's get on. And I'd like to say just how much this library, this online library, this resource of books from I think the 17th century, even maybe the 16th through to now, has been made possible to be online is by the scholarship of Philip of collecting it together and combining it with the AA library, his own library as well, and his own work of scanning them to a very high standard, a very conscientiously high standard. So, and now he's going to show us around. So over to you, Philip. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for the introduction, Roy, and thank you everybody once again for attending the launch of the International Astrology Library Online, the AA's first wide-ranging digital library of out of copyright books beyond the AA's own publications, which, as members will know, have been available since an earlier phase of scanning that was supervised by Roy personally over the past 10 years or so. But we now have available at the launch of this project over 400 books. Now I'm going to share my screen. Specifically, I'm going to share my AA account window, and let's just check that that is working. That should be working
Yeah, it's good.
fine. Good. Okay, so I'm just going to keep a little bit at the side visible in case anybody wants to raise anything. Now, this window you can see here is what you will get once you have purchased a subscription to the International Astrology Library online and gone to your library membership. There's a menu here of which the top item is Library Welcome. That's the one we're going to go to first. The others are direct links to the 9 available bookcases. We have organized the contents in terms of the actual books and magazines into 9 different bookcases to make it easier to find things which are themed alike, whether it's by time period or source. But the main page we're going to go to first is the library welcome page. So I'll just click view on that. And this has all been very nicely designed for you by Kat Keane, our webmaster, who's put in such wonderful work on the new website over the last several years. And we're all very grateful to her at the AA too. So at the top, you can see there is now this slider available where these bookcases sort of slide from left to right, and you can pick any one of them. There's then a little introduction to the scope of the material that's already available. And you can also, if you prefer a tiled arrangement, navigate through these 9 pictorial links, of which 5 actually have pictures of the DVDs that I originally produced from Sweden in the mid 2010s, which were the origin of my side of the scanning work that's gone into this project over a decade ago. 5 commercial DVDs were produced at that time, And to keep the organization familiar to people who remember those, some of you will do, most of you probably won't. We decided to retain the organization around those for the contents of those 5 original DVDs, which are now in the bookcases and just been transferred there. So those are the original covers, but the others all have custom pictures because they didn't exist as commercial products before. And we're going to start by looking at the AA Library bookcase, which is the biggest bookcase by far, with over 100 books in it. And you can see the subtitle there, British, American and Indian books from the AA Library. And we've represented it, I should say, by a picture of the AA's early edition of The Fixed Stars and Constellations in Astrology by Vivian Robson, one of the most famous books by a British astrologer from the early 20th century, which remains on the reading lists of multiple astrological schools to this day, particularly traditional astrology, but probably beyond that as well, I would imagine.
Philip, can I just mention this question of the password, because you've got straight in without using the password. But when they
Yes.
enroll, first of all, that password at the top is only
Yes.
available to members who've become subscribers, but it will be available and you'll have to actually copy and paste that in to a little box down the bottom when you first use the library. After that, you shouldn't need to do it. Thank you, Chris.
That's right, Roy. And you can see the password is actually printed here. Our plan is to use the same password for all the bookcases. And every time we change the password, which we will do periodically, just to keep the resource secure so that members know they're getting what they're paying for, and it isn't just being leaked to other people outside the membership of the resource, who can then just access it free in perpetuity, which there's always a potential risk of that, the way hackers operate. So we're just going to change the password from time to time, but it will be the same for all of them. So you'll just have to copy it and paste it from the tops of these pages. Now, these actual bookcases are embedded, and we've embedded them in our website, but they are part of a standard system, and therefore they are actually hosted externally, although we've embedded them. And that is why we need this added security, because there is a potential risk otherwise that people could try to gain direct access outside the system that we have to these individual bookcases. So let's have a quick look through the AA's bookcase first. You can sort it either by name from A to Z, and then you get the authors first, and then the titles of the books. And you can scroll up and down with a mouse wheel if you're using a standard mouse, and you go all the way through to the end of the alphabet, and you get Win right at the bottom there. For some reason, I'm not seeing the very, very bottom of this screen on my window as it's set up at the moment. That may just be a function of how my window is set up, but that's the last of these anyway in the A bookcase when they're sorted by name. You can also sort by date of upload, which is likely to become more useful, as Chris Mitchell has said in his explainer video, which will be made available additionally as a kind of permanent resource on how to use this system. That will become more useful when we start adding new books to each of the bookcases. Then if you sort by date, you will see the most recently added ones right at the start of the bookcase. So you won't have to guess whether or not anything new has been added since your last visit. Just by sorting by date, you'll be able to see right at the beginning either there has been or there hasn't been a new book added for you to explore. But for now, we're going to sort by name because that's more logical. And I'm just going to go in more or less at random, not quite at random actually, to one of these. And this is Howard Leslie Cornell's Encyclopedia of Medical Astrology, 1933. Now, this particular file, because it's a book of something like 958 main pages, plus preliminaries and covers, and it's in a fairly large format, it actually exceeded the file size limit of 500 megabytes of the system. I therefore split it into two. So we have part one, which covers all the entries in this legendary medical astrology encyclopedia from 1933 up to the end of the letter M in the alphabet. And then part two is the rest. This is the only file apart from Ebenezer Sibley's complete illustration of the celestial science of astrology, also a massive work that has had to be split into two, but it is complete if you just go to the right half. So we can use this navigation and basically go through one page at a time, but to make it more impressive visually, it's actually better to go to full screen, which you can access by clicking these three dots with more, and then there's a little full screen button that opens, and then you actually get a more lifelike view of the page. You can even use the arrow keys on your keyboard to go left and right from one page to the next, just like that, and go back to the cover. And this particular copy of Cornell's encyclopedia looks like it has some interesting past ownership inscriptions, and sometimes antique books are really worth researching for their ownership inscriptions. You actually look up a few names, you might discover there's somebody who's notable in some way in the history of astrology or perhaps in related occult or esoteric groups, though I'm not sure about those people because I haven't looked them up yet. In any case, if you progress through here, you very quickly get to the main part of the work, which starts with the letter A. But you can see in this encyclopedia, it is printed in very small text because that's the way it was actually published in the first place. And you can make it bigger if you want to see close up by zooming in. And there's a little zoom button down at the bottom here, and it's quite difficult to access on this screen because there's something over the top. That's better, I can get it. I'm going to go to, sorry, for some reason it has put a Windows toolbar at the bottom there, which I'm going to go out of. I'm not entirely sure what's happened there. The Windows toolbar has just appeared right at the bottom. That's better. Okay, I've got out of it again. Now, there is a little plus button here, and I'm trying to click it. That's better. For some reason on my screen, I've got a right button, which is superimposed over that, which shouldn't be the case if you're not demonstrating this over Zoom. I think it's something which comes up because of Zoom, but there is a plus button there, and that allows you to zoom in. So I'm now going to go back to the page I was on a moment ago and zoom in on that page. And it then reloads the image at higher resolution. And you can see that's now very high resolution. But I've just zoomed out again and do this once more. Just trying to move around without zooming out again. But you can drag the view around on screen like this just by holding with a mouse button and dragging the page like that. So even when your zoom setting is such that you can't see everything on the page on a single screen, by dragging it around as if you were casting your eye over different parts of a page holding a physical book, you can still read everything at this higher resolution. I'm going to go out of this again, back out of the zoom first of all, and then go out of full screen by clicking that little button. And actually, I'm going to go out of this book. And I'm now going to go to a different bookcase. There is an alternative way of navigating. You don't have to go through the welcome screen every time. You can go through the welcome screen, which we're on at the moment, and use this navigation or this navigation. But Cat's made it even easier so that you can literally use this drop down from bookcases and pick any bookcase you want. So let's go to British Astrological Publications 1598 to 1726. And this time I have to input the password, so I'll just copy that and paste it in like that. And then we're in. As simple as that. And this one again, I'm going to sort by name. So we've got Richard Ball first, because Ball is first in the alphabet within this particular bookcase, which covers only texts printed from 1598 to 1726, and last is actually the works of George Wharton here. And that's better. Now I can scroll right down to the bottom. You can see this is 7 to 31 out of 31 books in this bookcase, which was originally one of the DVDs. Let's go to Henry Coley's Clavis Astrologiae Elemata. That's always a fun one to look at. And anybody who's familiar with early English books online and with the version of Coley that appears on that resource will probably be aware that it's a very, very bad scan they had with a lot of duplicated pages and quite a lot of pages where you can't even see to the end of the page because the scan has chopped off text at the edges. So one of the things I endeavored to do when I bought my own originals of these early books 15 to 20 years ago was to improve upon the completeness of the scans that were existingly available from early English books online of Renaissance era texts by making sure that I scan every last bit of every single page that was actually in the book. And we've ended up with a book that looks like this. And it is a very tight binding, this particular book, but I think you'll find that all the text is present if you go through this. Another thing I want to point out, we're not going to go through absolutely all the bookcases because it will just be duplicating the same kind of instructions today before we take questions, but I do want to demonstrate the search feature. Now, somewhere down here, there's a little search button, and if I use this search box, I can look up words. When we're dealing with 17th century text, this is less reliable than it is when we're dealing with ones that are printed in the modern time. And that is because optical character recognition that's bundled with Adobe Acrobat, or Adobe Acrobat as some people like to call it, is very poor at handling 17th century texts with their peculiar fonts, but it's better than nothing. And you can still find quite a lot of themes, even in older text, just by looking up certain words. So let us, for instance, look up directions in Coley and see what it has to find. Now you can see on the left now, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 21 pages that contain the word directions, and that even Adobe Acrobat's poor quality OCR has managed to locate, and that can be a useful shortcut if you're researching a particular topic and you don't want to turn every single page to look for it in an old text. You use the search box and you get instant leads for locations to look at first. You might still want, particularly with these older texts, to try to look more comprehensively through the nearby pages to the ones where it's actually found what you're looking for, because the chances are it will have missed some, again, because of the imperfections of the OCR process with these old fonts. If you're looking into 20th century text, on the other hand, you'll probably find that except when the text is italicized, it will give you a much higher hit rate of sort of 95 to 99% accuracy on the search. So that's what I wanted to show immediately, and I am going to go out of this search box again and out of full screen again and out of this book again, and I think I will show one more bookcase before we move to questions. So let's quickly move to one we have called Rare Racing Astrology and Financial Astrology. Now that's a very small bookcase because so far there are only 5 or 6 books in it, as it's a very niche theme, but there are people who have a particular interest in these kind of scarce books that had a sort of cult following among people who like to bet on horse races or on financial markets. And a lot of these are very valuable books because collectors buy them, and you can't find originals for typically less than hundreds of dollars, in some cases, even thousands. So it's quite useful to have scans of these available, at least for some of them, the ones that are in the combined libraries here. So let's just go into one of these quickly. We will go to Sutaria's Astrology of the Race course, and this is a 1929 edition. I'm again going to go to the full screen mode, and this has become a very rare book. This is actually the second edition, but it was only published in India. There was a reprint, paperback reprint by Speaker Publications in Australia in about the early 2000s, but that was only produced in a very small print run, and even that is now very hard to find. And here you've got an original second edition looking exactly as it did in 1929, even down to the dust jacket. And you can see exactly how this R.L. Sutaria analysed horse races astrologically and numerologically back in the early 20th century, if that's of interest to you. And that's all I wanted to say about that. That will, as I say, be of niche interest. We may find we can fit a few more books into this section as they fall out of copyright. Certainly, if this resource keeps going for decades, we'll be able to do that. And I am going to stop sharing my screen now and hand back to Roy. How do I stop sharing? Here we go, this button, I think.
Well, I don't know if there's been any questions yet. I think people might want you to go back to the bookcase when they start asking questions, but we'll see how it goes. Mary, Amanda, have we got any questions yet?
No questions yet, but there's people have been saying such lovely things. We've got here, this is marvelous. It's like magic. We've got, it's amazing. It's fantastic. The quality is just sensational. This is an outstanding contribution to the astrological community. Francis has got a question. Can you put it in the chat box? It's just, we don't want to interfere with the recording. If you could put your question in the chat box, that'd be lovely. And then I'll read it out for you.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be super. And the other thing I'm going to put in the chat in a minute, the link to get to the website where the resource is for you to be able to sign up for it. So hit us with your question, Francis. Pop it in the chat, and then I'll read it out. Yes, you can ask about printing. So if you want to print out a section, which is the rules, e.g. copyright, and how many pages can I print, if any, to read on paper. So Philip, if you'd like to answer that one for us. You just unmute yourself, Philip.
Hello, Francis. Thank you for your question. Now, as far as I'm aware, it is not possible to conventionally print because this is designed to be a resource that you can only access as a logged in subscriber online. However, there's absolutely nothing to stop you zooming in and copying a section with some sort of screen grabber that you may have on your device. If there's something you actually want to research, to write an article about, and you don't want to have to be logged in the whole time you're doing that, I certainly have no objection, and I imagine the AA has no objection to people grabbing screen grabs like that and just using those offline to do those bits of research or writing. It certainly is technically possible to do that.
But the way the system's been set up is that you will be like logging into the library and then reading them live. So if you've end halfway through a book and you haven't finished it, never mind, just log back in again. The view, we've checked it all on mobile phones as well, so we've done that before we launched. So if you're on your mobile phone and you're reading it, you could, if you wanted to do a screenshot and read that later. But the only thing is, it's better to read it live, so it doesn't cost you or us anymore to be there on your device and to be able to read it. And I absolutely hear what you're saying about not wanting to possibly read online, but that is the way this system's been set up, because it's an online library. The physical library, yeah, you'd be able to physically, yeah. Sorry, you'd be able to physically visit the library, because Philip has these, actually, the actual books themselves. So if you want to see that, the physical books, you can. But to make this more available to more people, this is why we've done it online, so that anybody in any country can read the things live. I hope that answers your question.
The functionality of the zooming and the searching for text, that will only work if you use it online. It won't work if you were to do a screenshot, then you'd just lose all that functionality.
Okay, there's another question from Doris, and she's asked, will it be a separate password, separate from the AA password for the library? Yes. So once you're signed in to the library itself, for the bookcases themselves, the password for each one is at the top. Sometimes it will let you put them in and that's it. You never have to use it again, but it depends where you're clicking and where you're going. You might have to do it, but every password is always at the top of the page, but only when you've actually logged in. I hope that answers your question. There will be a video that Chris Mitchell's made, so I'll be sharing the link for that so that you can watch again afterwards a bit. He's doing much more in that video about how to do this and how to do that. Today was just an exploration. How many people can read a particular book at the same time? Thousands. Yeah.
The restriction is the connection. You know, our server connect at the AA, not the books themselves.
So Anthony's asked a question. You remember that there's been a significant number of vintage magazine publications in the library. How much of this material is included, Philip?
Hello, Anthony. Thank you for your question. Now, as far as vintage magazines publications, I had already scanned a lot of those for my previous private library project that I was doing before the AA library joined mine here. So you will find there are two bookcases which between them cover really the whole history of Alan Leo's publications that he personally edited and also his successors. So we've got the Astrologers magazine from 1890 to 1895, and Modern Astrology magazine from 1895 right through to 1941 approximately, with just a few gaps right at the end of there. I've also scanned, I think, 3 years of the publication Coming Events that was edited by Safarial for most of that time in the late 1890s and early 1900s as a sort of rival publication. One thing we haven't done yet, but which I very much hope I will be authorised to do, is to scan the British Journal of Astrology and Old Moore's Monthly Messenger, which was its original title before it changed name after its 8th year. And that would then add a whole lot of additional periodical material. I have scanned already several 19th century periodicals. You will find slightly rough scans of the first 2 years of the Conjurer's magazine, which was launched in 1791 and included increasing amounts of astrological material over the course of its 2-year life before it changed its name to the Astrologer's magazine Philosophical Miscellany. And then I've scanned the whole of the 6 months that are readily available of that magazine under its revised title. I've also scanned and included the complete set of several early 19th century magazines, including The Spirit of Partridge, edited by Mr. Dixon, and The Straggling Astrologer, that was edited by various editors, and towards the end of its time, that included the gentleman Robert Cross Smith, who then became famously Raphael, the founder of the Prophetic Messenger Almanac, a couple of years later. So there's a lot of history in there already. There's also, I think you'll find complete scans of all the magazines edited by Alfred Pierce, that is Urania from 1880, Star Law and Future Events, which he edited from 1897 to 1903, and The Future, which he edited from 1892 to 1894. Now, I collected all of those because I'm a big fan of Pierce's work and find him a fascinating character. So that is all included in the resource as well. If there are any particular journals other than what I've mentioned that you recall and that you would like to see scanned, please do drop us a line.
Okay, there's another question here. Is it possible to bookmark a page if I want to return to it on another session? I don't know the answer, Philip.
I'm not aware of any specific system to that. So what I would suggest doing is making a note either on a Word file or perhaps in the Notes app if you use a Samsung device, for instance, or just on paper of the name of the bookcase where you found it and the name of the book and the page reference of the file. And then literally you can go back next time you're free and you should be able to find it much faster that way. I'm afraid that's all I can suggest as far as that's concerned, because I'm not aware of, a specific bookmarking feature within the software that we're using for this.
Another question, can you search the words for the bookcases, not just the book, to help you get into the library? The answer is that you can by author and title of the book, and if you know the year in which it was published, then that will indicate which bookcase which section of the bookcases you need. Is there anything you want to add to that, Philip?
Yes, there's no text search that spans multiple books at once, but as Amanda was saying, if you're looking for a keyword that you expect to find in the title of a book, then you can go into each of the bookcases at a time and use the little search box for the bookcase, which is right at the top of that bookcase, to input free text. So, and that could include also the name of an author you were looking for, but it could include just any kind of astrologically relevant keyword that you think you might find in that bookcase. However, it wouldn't tell you about the detailed content of the individual books, because that could only be found by searching within the book.
Any other questions, anyone?
Just wanted to respond to the question from Valeria about whether or not books are marked as read after they've been read. Again, I'm not aware that there is any such feature currently available with the software we're using. So again, I would suggest making an organizational note yourself on some kind of file that you keep to note which ones you have read or find useful, and that would then resolve that manually, I suppose. Diana's question about the subscription arrangements and fees. Now, somebody at the AA, I think, should really answer that. Who would like to respond to that question?
Come on back to us, Roy.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, well,
Tony, camera on.
Oh, I'm going to see me as well. Yeah, hello. Yeah, well, you were going to do this, weren't you, Mary? Weren't you going to show them the page and
I'll
talk
put the link
about
in
that?
there. Okay, so it's if
Well,
you're a
why
member.
don't we put them? And if there aren't any more immediate questions. So if you think of other questions while we're doing this, by all means, put them in the chat box and we'll deal with them. But maybe we could go to how they can become subscribers and all that sort of stuff now. Do you think so?
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
do a demo of that. I've put the link in the chat to the
Yeah.
page on the website that takes us for the subscription, and it's not a vast amount of money. We have specifically kept it at a price that is affordable. So if you're a member yourself, it's £25. If you're not, it's 50. So basically, anybody that's a member of the Astrological Association gets access to all of this at half price. But if you're not a member of the AA, so if I do a screen share, I can show you what it looks like when you get there, and where it is that if you want to subscribe and you want to have access to the books, you can do that. It's also in the video as well. But if I do a quick bit of screen sharing,
Let's have a look at
I've
it.
got the
Yeah.
page already. Where do I
While
go
you're
for that?
loading it, I just add some. But the point about this is that we've managed to get this together because we've had a very generous donation from a funding charity. But we won't be able to keep on building it as I know you would like us to if we're not supported. And so the subscription is not just so you can do something, but so that you can have more and more things to look at and have, and everybody else in the world can as well. So we encourage you to be as generous as you can be, and as many of you subscribe as possible. And then we can get more and more scanning done faster and faster.
So this is can you see that's first question?
Yeah, I can see it.
You can see it. Great. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm now at astrologicalassociation.com/international astrology-library-online. So there we go. International Astrology Library, blah, blah, blah. There's the video here. So this is the lovely video that Chris has put together for us in quite a lot of detail about how to operate it. If you're not a member, you just click the buy now button, which I will do to show you what happens next. Bump. You add it to your basket. Bump. And then you can view your basket, or you can, there we go. And then that should take us to what method you want to pay to proceed to checkout. Now I'm a member.
Once you've completed that and you've paid and you've got the receipt, you will also automatically get an email that will give you your subscriber password details, so you can then log in. And Mary, it might be an idea to show them that as well. If you go to the My Account page.
Well, if I sign into my account.
No, don't sign in yet.
Right.
You don't necessarily need to do it. I just want to show them where to do it. If you go to click on the My Account page on the top right there, yeah, just that's it, and you can see my membership. Yeah, can you just sign in? Is it easy if you just sign in? Will that work?
Yep. And then because I'm already a subscriber, and view.
There's library.
And then these are all the bookcases, or you can just start with the welcome page. But this is in the video that Chris has already made for us. So
but this will happen. I wanted to show you that because as soon as you've paid and enrolled, immediately you'll receive an email from the AA automatically with that password details and your username details, and then which will be your email address that you're registered with, and then you'll be able to do what Mary just showed you.
Yeah.
And get into the library and what Phillips just shows you.
Absolutely.
Okay, if you want to leave there now, Mary, you don't need to show
your. There we go.
Yeah.
Christine Skinner has answered in response to the question about searching through bookcases and not through the books. She's been involved with Georgia Stastis in setting up Alexandria Base, and she said you can do amazing searches through alexandriabase.org. If you wanted to know about a specific fixed star, its name doesn't need to be in the book title. There are over 12,000 books in the catalogue, and you can search through keyword, author, etc. And then if you wanted to look at financial astrology, you'd get a list of 100 books, and then you can look for these through the AA to get the actual access to the books.
Okay, thank you for that. Also, somebody asked, is this a monthly or yearly fee? It's a yearly fee. It's not that expensive, but And somebody's just joined. They just told us Daisy's just joined. Well done, Daisy. Welcome.
Is there a student subscription, or is that the £25? If you're a member of the AA, then the subscription is £25.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind how your Astrological Association membership runs from anyway. Once you've purchased this subscription, it lasts for a whole year. But if you default on your membership, you'll still have access, but we would prefer that you also renew your membership as well. So if you purchase today, you'll get a whole 12 months, but we're hoping that you'll be honest enough to keep your membership at the same time as well. So that's the answer.
I've just noticed that Philip's answered a question that we on the chat box. What was the question exactly, Philip? Philip?
Can you unmute? Unmute,
The
Philip.
question was, is there a list of all the volumes for the potential subscribers before they actual subscribe? So all 430 books. And Philip's answered, there isn't yet on the website, but we could provide this.
Yeah, well, yeah, we, yeah, okay, that's a note. That's a note. That answers a note. Something we will have to do. In fact,
Thank
we
you,
could
Emma.
talk
That's
about
really helpful. That would be a good thing to have online. I totally agree.
Okay, this is one
Yes.
for Philip. So Francis got a question. You've got a question about guidance, advice on research. Is there anyone we can email or ask? Well, Philip is our official librarian, so I would have thought he'd be the person that you'd email to ask that question. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'd be
mean,
happy to
because it
take questions
depends what you're
related to
asking. I mean, I
research.
don't know what's in every single book, but Philip does because he's sat there with the scanner.
Well,
Yeah.
Philip.
Yeah, I would be happy to take questions related to research and help in any way I reasonably can.
And of course, there's always, if you can possibly get to Newport, there are ways of visiting the library. And then you don't only just have access to 400 books or more online, building hopefully extensively, but you have access to thousands of books. And I know Philip's got a little desk there, hasn't he, for researchers to work. So you could spend a day there. I mean, obviously limited availability, but it is possible.
Thanks, Troy.
Philip.
Just to expand on that a little bit, well, there are of course two libraries here now. The AA library, which fills about 18 or 19 bookcases plus some loose shelving around the top of one of the rooms. And then there's my private library, which is about 2.5 times that size. And there's some duplication of materials between them, but they are together a very extensive resource which cover a full spectrum of astrological literature of all ages, including popular, serious, and even academic, and in multiple languages, not just English, also French, German, Dutch, Latin, Greek, Arabic, Hebrew, almost you name it, not quite.
There's another question. How long did it take you to scan the big books at the start that you mentioned, parts 1 and 2? Are you allowed to reveal that, Philip, or is that a secret?
It's not a secret, no. I mean, scanning time, it varies with the physical size format of the paper. It also varies with the difficulty of the individual book. Now, those volumes are actually not that difficult to scan because they have reasonable margins. That is Cornell's Encyclopedia of Medical Astrology. But there are books like Henry Kohler's book that I mentioned as well, that we saw a little bit of, which have very tight margins in the center. And that's much more a challenge to scan because you do sometimes have to apply quite intense physical pressure to the spine of those books just to get them to get the scanner, flatbed scanner, to capture the text right to the middle. And then it's hard work, and you can actually damage books physically in the process as well. There are also books which have, particularly 20th century, early 20th century books that have staples through the inner margins, not actually in the spine, but through the inner margins, and they're notoriously easy to damage. And sometimes the staples are actually driven through outside, or rather try to say inside the lie of the innermost text. So then it becomes a real challenge to scan those, for instance. But I can't meaningfully give an exact figure in terms of the amount of time it took to scan Cornell, but it was certainly for that 958-page book, scanning and cropping, it was certainly a good 5 or 6 hours plus, I would say, in total.
Yeah, thank you. So there's a little question I noticed while you were talking that somebody, as a chair, I think, of a group in the northwest of England, was asking if he could pass all this on to members. Of course, we will actually, the recording of this will be sent out to everybody here who's come here, and also everybody who registered but couldn't make it. But I think they registered because they knew they couldn't make it, but they knew we'd send them a recording. This recording will be generally available. We're keen to get as many people as possible using this library, because then we can make it bigger and even better.
It also goes on the YouTube channel. So after today, Rod will be uploading this to our YouTube channel. Won't you, Rod?
Yes, I will.
You will. Thank you, darling.
Yeah. How are we doing? No more questions?
I think we've answered them. Oh, no, there's one just coming through now. So Doris is saying this is fantastic. Thank you, Philip, and everyone at the AA and all involved. What a wonderful resource. Thank you. That's the kind thing to say.
Thank you, Doris. I appreciate that. And I'm sure everybody at the AA does so as well. And also everybody else who has put nice comments. I just want to express my appreciation of that. It's very courteous of you all. I haven't been able to respond to all of you individually because there have been people speaking, or I've been speaking while we've been going, but I have been reading the chat since then, and I really appreciate it. So thank you.
I wanted to mention that the library subgroup also is working with Philip, who is planning to give bi-monthly sessions online about specialist areas of subjects and books that are in the library, or groups of books or subject matters that are in the library. And I think the first one of these will probably start next February. So in addition to using the library, you can share in Philip's extensive understanding of what's in the books in the library. And so look out for that. We'll be telling everybody in and in the loop.
Yes, regarding the program of talks, we haven't yet decided on themes for the individual talks. It could be done by technical areas within astrology and putting together different sources that give details on this, or it could be done along other lines, such as particular authors, particular astrological cultures within different countries, for instance. It's really very open-ended at this moment. If any of you have any requests for that, we would love to hear from you. And we will, in any case, end up discussing that as within the library subcommittee group. I won't just unilaterally make decisions about what to talk about. I want to make sure it's going to be of broad interest to AA members and so on.
We get into the point where we've done it. Anything else, Mary and Amanda? Or is that all we got in the chat box?
That's all in the chat box.
Yes.
Yeah. As I say, the video is going to go up on YouTube. The people that haven't seen it today will be sending them to there. Thank you very much for coming this evening. Thanks to Amanda, Philip, and Roy. And I'll leave Roy to say goodbye from us.
Oh, thank you. Well, again, this is, as you know, I've retired from the presidency from some time now. It's wonderful to see Wendy here, the new president, but one of the things that was in my heart when I wanted to do was to leave the library and help establish the library. And the team that's come together, Mary, Amanda, Philip, and Chris Mitchell. Well, thanks, Rod, for your help today too. The team that's come together are just a wonderful group of people, and I'm going to be drawing backwards and leave them to it soon. But it's wonderful that we've done this, and I'm so pleased of the reaction that's achieved, and may it grow and grow and grow, and make the library very modern, offering a tradition of knowledge which goes back to the very beginning of understanding. So thanks for coming, and I'll close it now. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for turning up. Thank you.
Well, we're at